Under the Levitical priesthood, God was instructing Moses on how to bless the people. And then he said, say to them, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord cause his face. His face. Now that face translates from the Hebrew word panim. It means face or presence. The Lord cause his face, his presence to shine upon you. In other words, the Lord caused his literal Shekinah glory to shine upon you, so that when people look at you, what they look at is the effulgence of the glory of God, so that you become a vessel clothed and garmented in the glory of God. This was the instruction that God gave to Moses. But right here and now, we are in the priesthood that is after the order of Melchizedek. And in this priesthood, it requires that every new creation, every believer under the New Testament is a priest. The implication of that is that you no longer need a Levitical priest to declare over you that the Lord bless you and the Lord keep you and that God's face would shine upon you. In other words, the responsibility of having the believer to be garmented by the effulging glory of God is no longer that of the Levitical priest. It is now the responsibility of the new creation. It is now the responsibility of every single individual who comes under the new covenant. In other words, it is your responsibility to ensure that God's panim, God's literal effulging glory, is your garment, becomes your everyday reality. Because you see, when God created man in the garden, the garment that he placed on man was his effulging glory, that was his covering, and this glory covered him from inside out. In other words, his garment came from inside. The glory of God shone over him from inside out, and that was the only garment that man had. But when man fell, that glory ceased, that life ceased, and then man saw for the first time that he was naked. And then because that template was no longer sustainable until the Christ came, God had to create external garment. If you look at the goats, if you look at the birds, you will realize that the garment of every animal comes from the inside out. You will notice that the feathers of the bird, it comes from the inside out. You will notice that the garment of the sheep, it grows from inside out. That is how God's glory was supposed to cover man from inside out. But when man fell, man lost that identity. Man lost that authority. What Christ came to give us in the new covenant is to be able to recover that garment system. And so I'm saying to you that you are naked until you are covered by the glory of God. Until your life is garmented by glory from inside out, until you are able to host the glory of God from inside out, you will realize that you are naked to the world, and so you're susceptible to shame, and so you're susceptible to error, and so you're susceptible to foolishness, and so you're susceptible to sickness, and so you're susceptible to being cheated on, and so you're susceptible to being looked down on, and so you're susceptible to a whole lot of things. The reason is because you are naked, and it is high time for you to garment yourself, for you to cover yourself with the glory of God. How do you cover yourself with the glory of God? You cover yourself with the glory of God as you spend time soaking in his presence, so that when you come out, people might think that your clothing and your beauty and your glory is the physical garment that you are putting on, but not so. Realize that treatment becomes special and different for you, and it's not necessarily because of the garment that you're putting on. It's not necessarily because of anything you're doing differently. It's because there is now the effulging Shekinah glory. Once Jesus died on the cross, what happened was that the literal effulging Shekinah glory that was in between the cherubs on the mercy seat flipped from that Holy of Holies, and that Holy of Holies became the heart of man. And that is your security. That is the assurance that you are covered and you are blanketed from the darkness and the wickedness of this world. My brothers, my sisters, it is time to put on your glory garment. My brothers, my sisters, it is time to put on your glory garment. It is time to stop being naked from the world and put on your glory garment. Child of God, put on your glory garment.